Hello, I'm Paddy Delaney, and welcome to Integrated Infrastructure, a podcast dedicated to bringing you news and views from industry leaders involved in the development, design, construction and management of the many built forms that make up Australia's integrated infrastructure. This was the first of our episodes and was recorded as the North Search series. So welcome to the North Search series. This is a short film podcast designed to offer something back to the construction, engineering, property and energy industries that we work with at North Search. This is the first of the series called Leaders and Mentors. Having been through three major economic events in my career, I know the impact it can have on people's opportunities for learning and developing and career choices. And this is the first episode, and we're going to talk about how to adapt, innovate and evolve in the current economic environment in order to thrive and survive as an up-and-coming leader or technical expert. And I'm delighted to have Joyanne Manning joining me today. Joyanne is a principal at Arup and the resource and waste leader in Australia. Joyanne wears many hats in and outside of work and is passionate about her team's ability to flourish and develop despite the current and future restrictions and economic ramifications of COVID-19. So welcome, Joyanne. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you. Good to be here, Paddy.
Great stuff. So we've had a really good sort of pre-chat around sort of what we're going to talk about today, and I think one of the first things that I really wanted to get into was a time in your career where you found that the either economic situation or career situation hasn't been ideal for you, and you've had to look for a way to get that learning and development and change in your career that was going to help you sort of move forward.
Yeah, I mean, a bit like yourself, I've been through a number of economic downturns, and I think the most relevant one, or the biggest one I was ever through, was the one experienced in Ireland back in 2009, probably the largest GFC that there was. Interestingly, I was actually living in Edinburgh. Prior to that, my husband was playing sports in Edinburgh, and I was on maternity leave with my second child, and we made a decision to go back to Ireland and return to Ireland in a middle massive economic recession that really impacted mine and I think your generation. It was sort of that generation of the sort of those of us in our 30s and 40s who really got heavily impacted by that, be it with negative equity on properties, be it with job losses, the whole sort of the way the recession had hit in Ireland. And so I returned into the Arup office into Dublin. I was actually on leave of absence, and it was quite interesting because I returned when so many people were being retrenched. So it was a very odd situation to people going, "Why are you back? And why are we employing you?" But actually, I was on leave of absence. They kind of had to take me back. And I think the point really is that the biggest thing you really need to do is be really sort of forward-looking and adaptable in this situation, and it's the same now, and try and look beyond the immediate horizon that faces you. So for me, it was trying to say, well, okay, we're obviously in the middle of a recession. Things are really difficult, really tight, but what is over the horizon and what is influencing sort of what the future is going to be. So for me, it was around strategic environmental assessment and also waste management. So we sort of went back into that and actually kind of started being quite successful here with regard to that. And but it was difficult because my husband had no work. We had two very small children, and it was really challenging. And Ireland, was increasing taxes. Obviously, fewer. The unemployment rate went to nearly 20% in Ireland during that time. So you had fewer people essentially earning and paying the taxes to pay for the country. So taxes went up, salaries went down. So we all across the board salary cuts. So just making ends meet was becoming more and more challenging on a daily basis. So actually got we started a conversation at home around what we could do. Could we go somewhere? What was the opportunity really? And then actually Arup asked me to consider when I moved to Australia. There was a large program of work they had won in Queensland actually after the Queensland floods. And again, looking to the future is they say never waste a good crisis, but never waste an opportunity in your own career as well. And I sort of said, yes, I'll go, but I'll go only if I get an opportunity to do something else. I wanted the opportunity to sort of really stretch my own personal development. I had essentially been working within the environmental team, which was fantastic, but I really wanted to stretch out into greater program and project management. So I actually shifted into the program project management team here in Arup in Queensland.
How did you find those opportunities to get to Australia, and where did you sort of look for? I shouldn't be asking two questions at once, but where did you look for that advice and those mentors that were going to help you make those right decisions?
So the opportunity came to me, and we have been talking about it at home ourselves. Australia was actually booming. It was at the end of the zeros, and there was a mining boom. Where the rest of the world was in a recession, I think Australia was doing very well. The Irish offices and the Australian offices, particularly Brisbane and Dublin, always had a very close connection, because in the early 2000s, when Australia hit a recession, Ireland was obviously in the middle of the Celtic Tiger. A lot of the Brisbane staff came to Dublin and worked on a lot of the big road projects in Ireland. So when the Brisbane office, they were doing Airport Link at the time, and there was some other big projects here. And when they needed extra staff, they actually came. They went to the Dublin office. There's still a number of us in senior roles in the Brisbane office to this day who all sort of hailed from Ireland or hailed from Dublin. So that was one thing. So the opportunity, to be honest, came to me. Where I'd say the opportunity, where I took advantage of that opportunity, was to say, okay, you've come to me with a opportunity. Now I want to mold the opportunity. So first of all, I said, I want it to be for a certain length of time. I said, well, what can I do to progress my career in terms of working in a different area or with a different sector, for instance, and also then considering about what was going to be the future potential, even promotion opportunities. Ireland was doing no promotions at the time, so conversations around, well, what's the progression path going to be? So sometimes sometimes it's not about, sometimes the opportunity might present it to you, but then you need to really think, how do you enable that opportunity to have the most value for you? And I don't know, where did I get that? I've never been one to have a single mentor for lots of different things. I know some people like to have mentors for everything that they do, but I've always worked with really good people. My boss in Ireland for a long time is an incredible woman, and she's always sort of given me great advice. I've worked with some other really fantastic people over the years who have always just sort of said, take the opportunities that present to you. Don't try and be somebody that you're not, something that's always been told to me as well, and be authentic. So be true to yourself, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But at least then you can go to bed at night and be happy that you were true to yourself.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And the economic crisis then was very much an economic crisis, where this has become this is a health crisis that's driven economic problems, and along with that has come some really unique sort of restrictions in the way that we work and the way that people are able to interact, and getting those learning and training and development sort of opportunities. And what are the biggest challenges you're seeing for people in this crisis?
Look, it's interesting. I think it is a pandemic, so it is a health crisis, but it is very much, it's people's ability to cope with it, and sort of the ability to manage it is economic related. So I think, look at me, I've got a very nice home, I've got plenty of space. When the kids were home, we all could go into different rooms, have good speed, high, Wi-Fi, etc. And I see it even within, the people who I work with in Arup, particularly Sydney and Melbourne, the graduates and the young engineers, 2-3 of them in, a little 25 square metre apartment or 50 square metre apartment, and one's at the kitchen table, if they're lucky, if they have a kitchen table, one's on the bed and one is sitting at the coffee table. And and I think that's just an example of the work. I think you're seeing it with kids. Again, my kids were lucky. We had Wi-Fi, we had laptops, we had computers, but so many children didn't even have the opportunity to get online, let alone sort of cope with the online learning. which was again definitely a socioeconomic, sort of aspect to COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. And are your sort of team looking to you for sort of learning and development opportunities? Are you able to work with them, and despite not being able to sit next to them and give them that sort of one-to-one feedback that would naturally come in the course of a day?
Yeah, it's been really challenging, and I not even my team. I found it myself. I mean, one of the things I've really sort of recognised through all of this is that we've all been very purposeful in our communication. So, if you organise a VC or you organise a call, you can have a conversation, but the incidental and accidental conversations are pretty much gone. And that's where a huge amount of learning is. And even if you look at, we talk about our learning pathways, we say 70% of it's on the job, 20% of it is specific to the job. You might ask them to do a specific task, and then 10% of it's formal learning. So the problem we have at the moment is that the 70% is essentially gone.
Yeah.
That's the listening in on some conversation. How do they act in a meeting? How do they talk to the client? How do they, interestingly, one of my team said to me recently, she asked me about something that happened last year. She says, I heard you, and I said, oh, why are you asking me about that? She said, oh, I remember listening to you on the phone and you were quite stressed. I often wondered what happened there. Now, she has no understanding, no ability to know what I am talking about at the moment, unless she is directly on a VC or or having an arranged conversation with me at the moment. So I do worry about the younger staff members and the up and comings, how they are going to get that incidental and accidental learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that's really I've really seen that there's a sort of a contingent of people that are really enjoying the working from home because they've got the right circumstances or the right setup or the right childcare. But having seen the impact of different recessions, it's definitely a concern for me that there might be a sort of quiet majority that really aren't getting the best out of it and able to get what they need.
And I think as a leader, which in a leadership role that I'm in, actually I can work better here in front of a VC and not having to do sort of a lot of the things I normally would do in the office. However, one of my responsibilities as being a leader is to share my knowledge and my experience. If we have a thing with Arup, when you become a principal, one of the things you have to agree to is leave Arup better than you found it. Yeah. And that's all about passing on learning. And me sitting here, it becomes quite difficult, or I have to be very, very deliberate in how I pass on my learning. When I'm around the office, you can drop in on people and you have the conversation, even just the incidental conversation in the kitchen, or look over someone's shoulder and go, oh, what are you working on? So it's those sort of things that become quite hard in this situation. But on a personal basis, if I wanted to be selfish, I'm much more productive sitting here.
Yeah. A lot of people are, and I suppose what advice would you give to somebody who is sitting there not able to get the feedback that they're looking for, working in more of an isolated environment than they would have done previously? What advice would you offer to somebody who maybe needed to seek that help out and look for some advice or some mentorship or help?
I think you're gonna have to make the effort. I think, unfortunately, in the current situation, I think we're all being given a lot of advice on what to do, but I think the reality is quite different. So I think even though leaders are being told all the time to check in with their teams and ask people, are they okay, and do formal this and that, the reality can often be quite different. So again, on a personal basis, I wasn't getting anything from my boss. So I ended up putting an appointment in his diary or with his PA, and we got on the call and he said, what's wrong? And he said, oh, I was just wondering when you were going to check in on me. And he laughed. And he says, I said, yeah, but I said, we all need it. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to turn around. If the person you're working with, or your line manager or your leader, you don't feel you're getting the support, call them out on it and go and seek it. And I think 95, 99% of them will be absolutely fine.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I think I've realised from speaking to so many people through this COVID situation that there are actually lots of different avenues you can find advice and learnings from people. If you just take that conversation to the next step, what do you think about this, and how would you react in this situation? And I've been struggling with this. Can you, how would your experience relate to that? And people then open up, and you get to know them better, and you get to have some really good relationships as well, which is fantastic.
And I think the other good opportunity this is that it allows, particularly for emerging leaders and up and coming people, it actually allows you to work with a whole different cohort of people you might normally work for. So again, it's an experience to experience different people, different styles, different cultures. Which, and even, working, depending on your organization that you're working with, if you're working in a global company, a lot of the, sort of the physical barriers have actually been removed, which is a good thing from what we're currently in. So take advantage of those and take out opportunities to work with people outside your normal circle if you can.
Yeah, fantastic. Last question, because this is a short form podcast. What are you excited about at the moment? What are you looking forward to?
So it's really, I actually am really excited about the opportunities to reset the economy in a different way. So I'm very passionate about the circular economy and keeping sort of actually moving what we do from linear to circular. I believe that, we actually have a huge opportunity now to meaningfully sort of contribute and meaningfully deliver on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We have seen again with COVID, those who, are least able and are sort of most vulnerable, most jeopardized have again been impacted most. And we have to try and do something to try and make our society more equitable. And even economically, we're interested. We've seen many examples even here in Australia that those who had local supply chains, who already had adopted circular principles, have actually fared far better. So it makes for more resilient business, it makes for more profitable business, and it actually makes for more equitable society.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
I just hope we don't reset back to the way we were. We have to reset to something new.
Yeah, something's got to change. It's lots of things have to change. I think we're already seeing some of those changes come through when you see the Liberals move their energy, sort of certainly the conversation that they're having around energy for a start. And I know that obviously you're very much in the waste to energy space, and we've been involved in it as well, which it certainly looks like it's growing, and there's going to be lots of more opportunities in that area.
And with the export bans for waste, and with the actual, the federal government saying they're actually they're reviewing their procurement guidelines, and certainly ScoMo has taken waste under his wing. He's decided that I think he thinks energy is too hard, so he reckons waste is the next best thing. But no, genuinely, it's not just waste though. It's actually thinking about it greater than waste and looking at it from a sustainable development and actually a circular economy point of view. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, and a lot of. I think we are at a point now that we actually can have we can accelerate progress in this space, and we'll take it from being boutique exemplar projects through to actual sort of projects at scale, and starting to see the economic benefits from it. So I'm very excited.
Excellent. It's good to be excited. Fantastic. Well, look, Joyanne, thank you ever so much. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
My first in the North Search series, and hopefully people will appreciate the fantastic advice and experience and life learnings that you've been able to offer today. So thank you very much.
Great to talk to you, Paddy.
Integrated Infrastructure is powered by North Search, specialists in executive and technical search across engineering, design, construction, property and energy markets in Australia. If you'd like to find out more about North Search or get involved with this podcast, you can click on the links in the show notes or email me directly at the address on the screen. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Integrated Infrastructure. Please tell your friends and colleagues if you did, and we hope to see you again soon.